Well, welcome back. We're ready to get into our match number 3 of the day, and it is going to be Warma versus Felkeine, and it's going to be another French matchup, as is going to be the case for most of the season in Division B, or at least when Division B is concerned, anyway. This is a pretty cool matchup, though, and not only because we get to see more of Warma, one of our new Grandmasters, but also the lineups and the deck choices I feel like it's just been thrown out the window, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but these two players are really mixing it up, aren't they?
Yeah, these last two series now, I think we're really going to see some of the diversity demonstrated that I was talking about at the intro to the show, because we saw fairly similar lineups throughout our first two series. But now we're seeing Felkeine, for example, submitting a lineup that does not have Warrior and does not have Priest. Despite the fact he's actually one of the most successful players in the tournament with Bomb Warrior right now. He's 7-2 overall with Bomb Warrior, which puts him joint third with Bank Yugi globally in terms of Bomb Warrior win rate, and still has chosen not to submit it. I don't know how much that has to do with the overall French performance in Specialist Week, where France generally brought Bomb Warrior and generally did really badly. That might just be a connection I'm making in my own head that doesn't exist anywhere else. But it's a very, very interesting lineup overall. And then Warma, in response, has the Zoo, has the Priest that we've been seeing a lot of, but he is a one European turtle player, Raven.
Yeah, and honestly, and this might be the case, or maybe not the case for long, but I'm excited because whichever way you look at it, I've been catching it as much of, especially the Eddie matchups from the Americas region as I can. And no matter what you think about the deck, it's definitely interesting to watch and watch it be piloted, right? Because I do think there are some situations you can't always account for, and you do have to be quite flexible in the way you approach it. But that is not going to be in our game number 1, so we can talk a lot more about Turtle Mage in the future. But what these two lineups have done is led to interesting bans, because Felkeine's Druid has been banned out, which is pretty crazy overall. But we are going to lead into a game number 1, which is Zoo versus Tempo Mage here from Felkeine. And Felkeine is not joining Warma in the craziness of Turtle Mage. He is playing the newest up-to-date Tempo Mage, I'd say.
Yeah, sort of, to a degree.
With a few changes, to be fair.
Yeah, he does have the Wand Makers in there, but he is also finding room for a Firebrand still, which could actually be huge in this matchup against Zoo. I think Firebrand, 2 copies, 1 copy, or 0 copies is one of the biggest deciding factors in how good your Zoo matchup is overall. And he's not playing the Cobalt Spellkins in there. He's just playing Jandis and Raz in the 5-mana slot. So then because of that, he's also then not playing the Arcane Breath, which you then sometimes run if you are playing the extra dragon. So it's kind of halfway in between. But I kind of talked about this dynamic where, you can kind of flirt around with whichever final 5 cards or so you want. If you no one's really found the solution to it, because if you look at the stats on Tempo Mage, there's 25 cards that the stats say are performing quite well. And then there's the 5 cards that everyone disagrees on, where essentially everyone's opinion is garbage. They all, no matter which cards you choose to play in those last 5 spots, they seem to just be the worst 5 cards in the deck when you get a significant sample of track data underneath it. So it's pretty interesting to see exactly where this list is going to end up, because certainly people do have very passionate opinions over what you are and are not supposed to be playing in Tempo Mage.
Right, and if everyone's opinions are garbage right now, this seems like my time to shine, because I'm going to put forward my 5 cards that I think should be in Tempo Mage, and guess what? By the sounds of it, can't be any worse.
No, actually do that. 5 cards right now that should be being played in Tempo Mage. I want them.
Right now, I'll do it after this game. At least give me a minute to consider.
Okay.
Felkeine going to be on the bottom on this Tempo Mage, of course, and the Tempo Mage mulligans right now, I think, not only because the deck is changing, as we've just been talking about, the way people build in it is altering all the time, but the mulligan, I still feel I have no idea on. Because there are so many different ways to approach it, obviously based on matchup as well. But what do you think of the mulligan versus Zoo, at least here? Because there are some powerful tools in Felkeine's opening mulligan right now.
There are. I think if you can get early Sorcerer's Apprentice against a lot of builds, it's quite hard for them to deal with. This is the Shadowlight Scholar build that you're going up against, which makes it a little bit more difficult to stick Apprentice. You're always keeping Apprentice, obviously, like it's a must-keep card, but you can look for very, very aggressive hands that allow you to go like Apprentice, Rare Frost, their minion early on, and just try and stick that Apprentice and snowball from there. That's a very real thing. But also when you have Firebrand in your deck, as Felkeine does, that's generally something you want to be looking for in the mulligan early on as well, on top of Violet Spellwing, which has just found its way into the hand, which surprisingly, again, much like Conjurer's Calling, I've kind of been through a range of emotions with this card, where initially I was like, yeah, this makes sense in the deck. It's a card I can play on one. It generates a spell. It goes nicely with Sorcerer's Apprentice. It discounts my Mana Giant. This seems great. Then it started feeling weak to me, so I cut it out of the deck. But then over time, I'm just like, actually, like my deck just needs this effect. Like it just needs a card that I can just play. For the Rogue matchup, having an Arcane Missiles is great. For the Zoo matchup, having an Arcane Missiles is great. And just having that extra consistency of being able to play a 1-drop on one, I think is more important than people give it credit for.
And something, and I've been with you on that, because I think we both agreed at the time about Violet Spellwing. I think we've got kind of both gone on that journey. But I'll say as well on ladder, and we can talk about it more later because it's relevant to ball control, but the increase of Hunters as well has made Violet Spellwing, because that is fantastic against Hunters in the early game. So yeah, I agree. I think right now it's probably pretty good.
Ooh, Coin Spider Tank, huh? That's where we're at.
Yeah, this is like a combo effect, I guess, because here it's not only that, yes, it's the biggest minion he could play on that turn, but also does it in a roundabout way potentially make his Raised Dead better because he gets bigger minions back, as opposed to, say, going like Tall Guide or something like that, where his Raised Dead will then get him, okay, it gets him like kind of a free life tap or a reduced life tap, but it's still 1-1 against Mage. It doesn't quite have the oomph that you might need in the early game.
Right.
I can see the benefit of these scholars, even if they're not getting their true potential shown here with no soul fragments in the deck. They are just right now, 3-mana 3/4s are just pretty good. And it's one of the reasons it does pain me a little bit when I've been trying deck lists out of Mage that aren't playing Firebrands, because I think not only is the spell burst effect insane right now, but just having a solid minion to just drop down feels great in this meta.
Okay. 10 damages worth of Arcane Missiles? Seems powerful.
It says explode! Oh, it says explode!
There is a sticking point here, which I didn't really get round to at the time, where you were asking about mulligans. Okay. I didn't know whether he was reacting because that went really well or really badly. It could have
hold
been
your
either.
breath. We'll review and then carry on with your conversation.
But yeah, when we're talking about mulligans, the big decision point that Felkeine specifically had in that spot was he had Sorcerer's Apprentice Evocation in his opening hand, and I said, Sorcerers is always a keep, but I think a lot of the time, like, Evocation with Sorcerers is a keep in a lot of spots as well, particularly against aggro decks, because you just have the opportunity to just do so many disgusting things and cheat so much mana so early. It's kind of like the Dark Glare effect, right? Like, you just do so much in one turn on, like, 4 or 5 mana that your opponent can't possibly keep up with it. So, you look at this turn here, which could have potentially been that Apprentice Evocation effect. Felkeine did activate a very, very strong turn regardless. But, there's a lot of potential, unspent, cheated mana that could have come out on Evocation spells here.
And it's definitely maybe even a nod to what Felkeine wants or expects to get out of the average Evocation in whatever matchup. Because for me, if you get 1 to 2 good spells super early against Zoo, that's just worth it. Yes, you're not getting your hand full of spells that you cast to generate even more stuff, but just 1 to 2 strong spells in the early game might just be enough to win the game, right? Like that's the way I would view it. Yeah. Felkeine, of course, disagrees. And now facing down this Matron means he can just drop this Mana Giant down, trade off the 2 1/3s, and ask Warma if he can kill an 8/8, which I think I like.
The answer is no. Can't kill an 8/8.
I don't think that would be the most hidden answer in the world from Felkeine either, would it? There's not really any ways that this could happen.
Especially since, literally, your opponent's opening curve was the 2 things in his deck that shoot your minions for 3, and a 5/5 Rusher. They've already all been used. You just stick an 8/8 this turn.
Oh, okay. That's important. I was going to say...
Neophytes clutch, yeah.
The 8/8 was good for Felkeine, and like you said, not really going to have an answer from Warma, but this Voidwalker is doing work right now, because the problem is with Felkeine having a giant on board, he also has no hand, which means this giant pretty much needs to keep hitting face, or at least hit face twice, right, to win the game. This Voidwalker might just buy Warma enough time to trade into it.
I'm pretty sure it still hits face this turn. You just Ray ping the 1/3 and then smash him in the face.
Do you not believe?
No!
Oh, okay.
I believe in guaranteeing I get to hit my opponent for 8, Raven. That's what I believe in.
Just the sickest firebrand in the world.
Okay.
There was a point there, though, because this does mean that... I guess it's still a long shot, but it means that Warma needs 1 point of damage to kill the Mana Giant.
Sick. Go for it, buddy. Kill my Mana Giant. You're at 5.
That's 5 turns worth of ping, Sol. That's a long time for Warma to get the win here. It's actually a weirdly close game.
It is. It is really going to come down to these next 1 or 2 draws here for Felkeine.
You fight me, you get burned. Job done.
Main target here for the Firebrand is almost certainly this 1/1.
Hello?
I told you, Sol. Believe.
Yeah.
And that's just going to be game. The snipe there, and Felkeine pumped for that first win, and I don't blame him. Getting off to a great start there, taking a win over the Warlock and getting his Mage just done and dusted for the series. But honestly, Sol, Mage isn't the deck I was too worried about here for Felkeine in terms of getting a win. I'm still just going to continue to stare at the Rogue list and just question all these choices as to what is Rogue actually supposed to win versus. That's my main question. So we'll see how it performs. But really, really close game there. I think it looked less close than it actually was, just because Warma, if there isn't a direct answer there, Warma needs like 2 turns to catch up on damage, right? So it was pretty close, that one.
Yeah, so that draw specifically for Felkeine on that turn, where, like I said, like you ray across the taunt, you smash him in the face with a giant, and then you probably, okay, he kills my giant, but like you don't care. It's like, go ahead, buddy, kill my giant, you're at 5. Half of your deck is unplayable at this point. Like, literally, you cannot play the cards or else you die. So at that point, the next card for Felkeine alongside that Firebrand would have had to been an absolute brick, and I'm not sure what that card is at that point, because any spell is fine. Basically, any minion is fine. You know, if he draws Jandis, another Mana Giant, Raz, like what was the card he drew at that point that didn't put him in a powerful position? Because, again, the point I made erroneously in one of the other Zoo series is correct here, because Warma does not play Brittlebone Destroyer. So every minion that gets played actually has to get traded into, honestly, by his board. And he can't just keep doing that forever, because at some point he has to go face, because he only has 5 health and he's dead to ping over a couple of turns, you know? Like, so it was going to be tough for sure. I'm not sure like what the brick draw for Felkeine would have been at that point, but he was potentially one like real brick away from being in trouble.
Yeah, and like you said, you do see, although I talked about, and I still believe it, the power of just the Shadowlight Scholars being a good shape to play on board. The not getting the value, like imagine if each time he played one, it pinged off another minion of Felkeine. Suddenly, that game could look quite different, because it was potentially that close. But we are moving swiftly on into our game number 2, Warma. On that Zoo list again, and Felkeine switching over to this Rogue. Okay, Wind Guardian, not the best for Felkeine right now, but I think we are starting to see what Felkaine's going to aim for, which is no doubt activate this evil miscreant ASAP, and then start to try and work on building the big quest adventurer.
I mean, what if we do that in the opposite order? If this 1/2 survives, there's a pretty good chance we might just see immediate questing adventure on the next turn.
That's true.
However, it does not.
This is actually a really good start for Warma, although it looks like quite low power because they're just all one-attack minions. There's 3 of them, and Rogue doesn't really have the best way to deal with this kind of like awkward pressure. Now there's going to be a Dark Lair coming down, so there has to be most of the time like exactly an Eviscerate to deal with it if he goes for it on curve. Oh, Nightshade into Hand of Gul'dan.
Yeah, I think Warma would have played his minion here anyway because it's just biggest minion, go face, makes sense. But having drawn Hand of Gul'dan there, I think it gives him a ton of security to just be able to say, all right, it's now pretty low risk for me to just tempo one of my win conditions because I have another one of my win conditions in my hand.
And now, Sol,
So many options.
is the respect for the Dark Lair there? It has to be, right?
Yes. So I like,
Okay.
Was there ever a world where we weren't eviscerating a Dark Lair this turn? I don't think that was happening.
I don't think so, but the main point here is it does sort of stunt a lot of Felkaine's other options that turn. He has to use Coin without having the questing down.
Right.
He has to use Plagiarize, and Plagiarize against Zoo doesn't often pay off that well, right? Because they normally play like 1 to 2 minions and then...
Hold on. That was exactly Dark Lair Penflinger, right? So he plays it, he has 4 mana still, he plays Dark Lair, he has 1, he plays the Penflinger, he has 3 again? He could like tap into Flame Imp and then still play it? Probably ambitious. Yep, alright, fair enough. Gotta check these things, Raven. You gotta check them.
Mm-hmm. And now, because of what he had to do on the previous turn, it's just kind of made this turn a little bit awkward. He can just matron into the matron. But again, that's just not the development it's after. And suddenly, Felkeine doesn't have tons of things to do with this Quest Adventurer, especially because the secret's been procced and he doesn't have the stunner active anymore.
Agony goes a long way.
Arguably whiffs on the Penflinger here, but, just having an extra 5/5 rush in your hand. Nothing to sniff at.
Forbidden rituals, you say? What makes something real?
It's just got to be the Jandis. And do you think we're going to see this Shadow Step as well, Sotul? Because right now, Felkeine does not have good follow-up.
Expect it has to be. Potentially he just holds for Secret, maybe? He thinks that's his out. Just Secret and then go nuts with Blackjack Stunner and Shadow Steps. Try and swing the board that way. And see
So
that as a
currently has
potential out.
3 secrets in the deck, 2 dirty tricks, and the 1 Plagiarize that's left over.
Mm-hmm.
Sells his second Scholar, which this time in this game is active, which means he can take apart this I know he said Nightshade then, take apart the 4/4 a little bit easier.
It's a world of difference, right? Them actually coming down activated and dealing damage. It's
huge.
night and day.
It's like, imagine playing an SI7 agent flat, apart, without combo versus combo. That's huge. This is just better in every way, right? It's a 3/4, and it deals 3, not 2. Massive.
Yep.
And this has to be the best of draws for Felkeine.
Okay.
Well, it was. Okay, let's go.
He can't quite questing and Gigapop this turn. Like he's short 1 Blackjack Stunner to be able to do all of that.
My question is, what does he bounce? Does he bounce the 2 Scholars?
I think so. I think there's only 1 Soul Fragment left in the deck, so one of them's just a Spider Tank anyway, currently.
And there's that percentage chance that Warma could draw that Soul Fragment next turn before he can replay.
Sure.
Not obviously a huge thing, not a huge factor. It's going to come into the decision, but still.
Is there a Miscreant line instead? I don't think so.
I think the Miscreant ends up being more of a long shot than this, right?
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, the Dark Lair has to go. First things first. Make him spend 3 on that again if he wants to, or 4 on that.
Don't let the door hit
Like,
you.
how big a difference is stepping 2 minions versus stepping 3? Or sapping 2 versus sapping 3, as opposed to actually getting this questing on board? Because the questing is dead, you know that. You've
Right.
put the answer to the questing back in their hand.
Warma just doing some quick numbers because they do add up a little bit differently when you Dark Glare costs 4.
Yeah.
Still, Dark Glare into the Tour Guide is going to effectively gain him some mana.
Yeah, Dark Glare, Tour Guide, tap, and then he gets 4 again. So he can use Nightshade or the Shadow Light, whichever way he wants to go about it.
Or if he taps into something, of course. There's options.
Yeah, the tap's also a little dangerous, though, for that reason.
Oh, did he have 2?
He had 2, okay.
Imagine back-to-back fragments. You were like, no! Does he ever think he doesn't have to kill this question? Surely not.
Rituals, you say?
What if he... I was just looking at the life, the health total there for Felkeine and was thinking, what if?
Don't let the door hit.
What if it's a 6/6, your opponent has barely any cards, you've got 23 health, what if you just pushed an extra 6 to face there?
Really? That goes before One Thief, huh? Interesting. Went Miscreant before One Thief in that scenario? Mage spells are better out in that scenario? I guess just having a 1/4 in play guaranteed is relevant. He has just about enough health to play with that he doesn't necessarily need an answer right now. Yeah, okay, I'm convinced. Just play all the minions, makes sense.
I actually quite like... it's annoying because backstab looks great now, but I do like the look of that ambush, honestly. Just gonna go for the backstab now.
Yeah, this backstab Fan of Knives quote combo in hand is probably pretty effective. I mean, the good one. It's right there in the middle, Felkeine. There it is.
So there's 9.
There is.
I'm still wondering about that quest in turn. It's tough.
What, ignore it, go face?
Yeah. Like, there's just more minions. Questing Adventurer, although scary, is only 1 minion. It only gets to attack once per turn.
You were just a bird.
Secret passage, prep, play your whole hand, secret passage again. You're just dead.
Hey, if my opponent 23s me from a 6/6, I'd be like, you know what, fair play.
You know what? Round of applause. French clap for you, my friend. Shadow Step!
Shadow Step, yeah, with the stunner still alive, means that he can just bounce this Vulture back once again if he wants to.
And this is kind of like the hidden benefit of Dirty Tricks. I think a lot of people like kind of process, oh, Dirty Tricks is kind of bad in this matchup because they don't cast spells. Well, if you look at it as like 2 mana, your Blackjack Stunner is active the whole game. It's actually not that bad, is it? Okay, double combustion. Can get baited by a potion if we want. That's exciting.
Wait, Felkaine's playing Tail Mage! Let's go! You could just... He probably wants to cast at least the Ray, right? Definitely, just to get the actual Ray of Frost back.
I don't think so. I think I like the Learn Draconic there. In combat, like Learn Draconic double removal spell, and then you use the Blackjack Stunner on this because he didn't have to remove 3 minions. He still had the Blackjack Stunner in his hand.
Oh, he's got double Ray of Frost. Huh. Yeah,
So
I don't think Felkaine's happy with that turn either.
He could have played like Learn Draconic double combustion and the Blackjack Stunner, and have 6 mana spent on spells, be in complete control of the board, and have Fan of Knives that summons a 6/6 next turn. That seems powerful.
Well, I was even like with what I thought he could do something very similar to what he did. It leaves the 5/1 on board frozen, but he'd have the Learn Draconic up and have a Ray of Frost in hand.
Right.
Now, which seemed also better. Like, does the 5/1 need to die that turn? I don't know. Maybe can't collect the turn after. Of course, he isn't mage.
I'm so confused. Felkeine has a Blackjack Stunner in his hand, and Warma had the opportunity to deactivate it by casting a spell. It does cost 2 cards, but isn't that better when you just played an 8/8?
And it would have only cost him the 2/1, right? to just guarantee the throw.
Yeah.
But now he's got Soulfire into Soulfire.
Sometimes he does, yeah.
He's got two sort of cushion cards for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well. Oh, well, that's better.
It certainly is.
So you tap as well?
I mean, you can hard cast the Hand of Gul'dan and then try and go from there. Okay, that's infinitely better.
Look at Felkeine! He does not. Oh, yeah, he doesn't want to see card draw.
The third Soulfire! The rarely seen third Soulfire. You always cast all three. You always cast all three.
100% of the time. 100%. There you go. Warma knows what's up. Wow. That looked dicey for both players at multiple parts of the game there. That was pretty crazy, but Warma going for the double Soulfire got rewarded with making it a little bit more likely he'll be able to get off the multiple Soulfires. Otherwise, it could have been a little bit rough, where it's a 1 in 3 to discard the second one if it's a natural tap and then go. So it's a little bit scary there for Warma, but he did pull it off, so he is going to make this series even at 1-1. But I feel like that was a little bit messy from both players, honestly, throughout that whole game.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that I'm gonna, pick a hill to die on and say that's outright wrong, but it's certainly lots of difficult spots with curious choices, because valuing sticking an 8/8 to the board versus giving your opponent 2 cards there is not strictly wrong, especially when they play the card Secret Passage in their deck, which 2 draws where one of those cards can be Secret Passage is potentially infinitely more valuable than you having an 8/8 on board if that Secret Passage then finds them an answer to the 8/8 plus 1,000,000 damage worth of pressure on the other side. And then Felkeine's sequencing with the Evocation, I think perhaps was the most suspect looking thing overall, but I'm not sure if it would have been good enough overall to dig himself out of it. But yeah, it was a questionable game for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's a very interesting one. We're going to see how we go into this next game. I do believe it is going to be the Rogue once again for Felkeine, and Warma is going to be going on that Galakrond/Dragon Priest.
Yeah, and this can be a pretty tricky matchup from both sides, to be honest. It's hard to know where exactly the matchup is going to go overall, because a lot of the time the Rogue feels like it can and should be the aggro deck in the matchup. But if that fails, they actually do have the opportunity to generate very value-heavy hands as well and fight the long game against the Priest. And then honestly, on the Priest side, it's very much the same thing. They can actually do very aggressive things very quickly with Cabal Acolyte and stealing key minions. They can just steal away the early questing, steal away the early Edwin, and actually set up some counter pressure themselves. Then obviously, if that doesn't pay off for the Priest, they're more than well equipped enough to be able to go for value in the late game as well. Felkeine here off to a reasonable start. Picks up a tempo minion off his Ferrocat, which is always nice to see in this scenario. But now his hand is just a little bit stuck because he doesn't have a smooth combo activator for this Miscreant, either this turn or next turn. So he is just a little bit stuck on development here.
It's a little bit tough, and on the other side of that, Warma just have access to some anti-aggro tools. I just wonder, what do you think? Are these, the Pyromancer, the Wave, etc., are these sort of anti-aggro tools going to be good versus this Rogue?
They are. I mean, Wave is always going to be good no matter what matchup you're playing against, particularly when you have Cabal Acolyte in your hand as well. I was just, as I just mentioned, that's absolutely nuts in the matchup because they're quite often looking to just slam early questing. Quite often a play you'll see is just questing for the initial turn, make it a 4/4 for maximum difficulty for the Priest to remove. And then obviously if that's just a solo minion in play, they have the Cabal Acolyte Wave of Apathy just to be able to completely shut down that plan. But yeah, the matchup is very, very flexible. You can't really approach it just one-dimensionally as an aggro versus anti-aggro kind of matchup, because sometimes it does really devolve into a straight-up value battle.
Dance, puppet, dance.
All right. Decent target. Warma did feel pressured enough into giving this up, though, with the Wave of Apathy combo in his hand, even. Those are some mighty cheap dragons.
Yeah, that's looking pretty scary overall. If Warma actually gets the board, or continues to win board, then it's really going to be an uphill climb for Felkeine to actually win it back, because this rogue just plays a lot of little minions. And yes, there's the blackjack stunners to help with it. But outside of that, is there a way for even Felkeine to fight back here? This is looking very tough.
It is. He's relatively okay to just keep developing some tempo here, though, I would say. Just has Jandis in hand. He is committing to everything else first. There is sometimes order considerations with this, because you can get like spell burst effects, you can get Mazaki, you can get all kinds of things that benefit with playing spells afterward. However, in that scenario specifically, I think he needed the guaranteed Grand Mummy buff, so he was kind of locked into sequencing it like that, because he wanted the Miscreant to be the only minion on board when the Grand Mummy died.
And now all this is starting to come together, though, for Warma. Although he lost control of the board, this board is very clearable, maybe not in one turn, but controllable and clearable over 2 turns at least, with this Pyromancer and maybe the help of a Wave of Apathy, the Goblin Rush Lackey, and also the Cobalt Spellkin for extra spells.
Magic is not a
Just how he chooses to do this is, I think it is going to be a multi-turn setup for a clear, right? And it looks like he's going to go for the dragon into rush first, and then have the Pyromancer plus backup eventually for next turn.
Yeah, kind of nice that he already had the knowledge as to which one he needed to rush into there, because now the other one's just left vulnerable to the Pyromancer.
Also, like, I know he couldn't have done anything about it with this turn, but feels a little bit bad that he actually didn't just snipe off the highest damage one with the 1 damage somehow this turn. There's a bit of a weird one where his 5/6 does kind of get chewed up by the 4/2.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is a 2-turn plan, so it's less about looking at it what 1 turn does as opposed to what they do combined, right?
That Miscreant is absolutely stacked. Double Grand Mummy buff. Incredible scenes, Raven.
Imagine he just solos. It just does all the damage. It's like, what?
So many options.
He just keeps receiving odd little buffs here and there. It's a tough choice in itself. Like, Deadly Poison probably just does not do enough damage throughout the course of the game. But Shadows instead.
Actually picked Shadows. Insanity.
Well, the problem was, Vendetta doesn't do enough. Deadly Poison doesn't do enough as far as I'm concerned. So at least Shadows, like, makes more stuff on board to try and win. I think, like, it's the best of a bad bunch, at least in my opinion.
Does it? I mean, like, in terms of what's happening immediately, he picked the card that does the least. This card does nothing immediate.
I do have a question, though, because I'm not sure.
Okay.
How does it work with Passage? Does it summon them? It does, right?
I would imagine it works the same as it does with Soul Fragments and Bombs. In which case, no, you would just have the Shadow in your hand, and you'd have to play it if you wanted to use it.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But I have not seen that particular interaction just yet, but I have no reason to believe it wouldn't work the same way. So yeah, that's a Doomsayer.
Yep. Shadow and the Doomsayer. Easy, you got clears for days.
Oh wait, we missed your top 5 Tempo Mage cards. How did I let you get away with this?
After this game, Sol,
yeah.
So many.
Week 7 of Hearthstone Grandmasters. Raven has still not chosen his Tempo Mage cards.
I'll announce 1 card a week for the rest of the season.
Okay.
Frostbolt. That's 1.
Alright. So, free turn, essentially, if he wants it. You do always have to have a think at least about whether you want to just take full control of the tempo here, if that's a possibility.
The secret, he could have gone actually for like an apotheosis there on the Felkeine as well, and just traded through the Doomsayer, traded off one of the lackeys, maybe followed up with a probably not worth a wave, although he does have 3, so maybe you can just throw those away. But yeah, I don't know. I was half thinking about the apotheosis there for Warma, just stick one big dude.
It was interesting, right? He kind of also had like a pyro apotheosis line with some
Sure,
other stuff that could clear up. I was just about to say, I wonder if he's ever considering just carging the Doomsayer. Like, this is low-key kind of nutty.
It is.
Isn't this just
the only
good?
weird, it is. The only weird thing about this is I don't feel like you're expecting, or Warma's expecting Felkeine to like refill the board with more minions and push face. Like, the minions are all so little anyway that Pyro clears them up, and I know this saves Pyro for longer, but I think it might have just been more likely that he sticks the aggressive minion with the apotheosis, and then it's Felkeine's problem. And if he bounces it, oh no, I got Spellkin back. You know, like, okay, replay. He heals a lot. He'd heal for 7 with the apotheosis that turn as well. I don't know. I don't know if Warma needed to be this defensive, but I definitely agree this is just a solid turn and has allowed him basically a free turn in the outcome.
You need something to do, though.
Slam the Galacron, I guess?
I mean, Raise Dead is pretty exciting here. It could give him something potentially powerful, but yeah, fair enough. Okay, if he doesn't value having the Galacron as a removal option in hand, he can take this free turn to develop Galacron. Seems fine.
And I think that attitude is fair versus Rogue, because it's often you're going to see these one thieves, lackeys, miscreants be cushions. So Galacron often isn't going to snipe exactly the quest in on its own or something.
Yep, that's fair.
This looks to be a pretty large Edwin turn. Is there any reason not to have it? Okay, so there's always a reason, but you think he's going to go for the Neophyte here? Or is there a better turn to save it for? Ooh.
Okay, and decides 10-10's big enough.
Was Neophyte not worth it there?
What does it protect you against?
Plague.
Sure.
I don't. My question is, if you're not trying to protect a Van Cleef with Neophyte, then what's Neophyte for right now? Like,
well,
that's my only question. Like, what's the point?
It doesn't really protect it that effectively. Right? It protects it against exactly Plague, but not from Shadow of Death, Wave of Apathy, Soul Mirror. Like, there's a million things that could happen.
Now there's questing though. So Felkeine can go for try number 2 of make a big minion and hope it wins the game, which is the overall strategy with this deck I found. Oh, okay. I was looking at Spellbender there, but Ancient Mysteries does do a job in this deck. He is running Natural Secrets, of course.
Yes.
Can that allow Felkeine to bounce this Pyro back if he so chooses?
Yeah, he will likely devolve here instead, and is doing so. Very nice. Complete cleanup.
Okay, here comes the Neophyte to try and help protect this question.
Again, it doesn't really protect it from a great deal, though.
I think that was most of my point, is that the Neophyte last turn did stop a Plague.
Yeah.
Whereas a Neophyte any other turn, the Neophyte any other turn of the game doesn't, and still doesn't stop anything else. You know what I mean? Like, that was it was not a big deal, but something to consider with the previous turn, because he daggered up instead, right? And I think that was the drawing point. Yeah, though. Well, am I just going to start off with that hero power, try and get some more playable minions? Wave of Apathy is a great card, but you do need stuff to actually play to win the game.
Yeah, Cabal Acolyte. That's the thing that you need to play to win the game.
Maybe not for long.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could see what we see, you would love to try and be able to flick a wave of apathy from the hand. Just delete 3 of the spell.
That's just not how anything works, Raven.
It's not. But I bet Felkeine wishes it was.
Yeah. 14 cards remaining, but it's kind of deceptive how quickly Felkeine is going to gas out, because 3 of his cards are shadows and 2 of his cards are secret passage, which consume enormous amounts of cards in one go when you actually end up playing them. So even though you're not actually drawing those cards, you do still end up shrinking the size of your deck by playing a secret passage. So those 14 cards are going to disappear very, very quick.
So I don't even know what those 14 cards are, Saul, because we've seen a Questin, we've seen a Van Cleef, we've seen a Jandis, there's Flick in hand.
Mm-hmm.
Do those cards deal any damage? I guess that's my big question, right? Like, I don't know. This is my whole question about this deck. I don't know what it does if your opponent kills the Questins and Van Cleef, because Felkaine's list also doesn't run Horde either. So it's not like you can generate, some kind of extra big legendary or, something crazy that really flips the game around. It just doesn't run that. So I'm literally looking at the list and I'm not sure what's even in the deck now.
We're happy with this 4/4. Interesting.
Dance, puppet. Dance.
I think at this point, like I just said, Warma's killed off most of the big threats. Like, why not just try and push to win the game, right? Felkaine's on 17. What does he actually play?
I don't think I'm giving Dragonmaw Overseer enough credit and just, like, Warma making a tempo push here. I'm just looking at this board state, like, it's not really that impressive, but I was just not really accounting for this Dragonmaw just going nuts and just popping off every turn. Also, like, this board can just be game-winning.
Funnily enough, Warma knows that Felkeine has Soul Mirror, and because of the effect of Wave of Apathy, the Flick's actually still good versus Soul Mirror.
Yep. Felkeine has 1 remaining secret, which is a Plagiarize, if he wants to go Hanar Passage.
Does Felkeine actually Soul Mirror this to get his own 6-attack Flick and then eviscerate Warma's other one?
He has to win board somehow, right?
Yeah. I think he has to do this. Murazon, let's go.
Yep, just in case you thought we were going to get away with no priest mirrors.
Yeah.
The Murazon Soul Mirror interaction is still going to haunt our dreams. This Abyss target is huge. That's fine. That's absolutely fine from Warma's perspective.
What's hilarious is I didn't even go through the thought process of whether Murazon was good. It's just I saw a Soul Mirror get played, the other player had Murazon, so that's what's been just drilled into me right now.
I see. I have trained you well, Raven. Are we going to see it? I'm saying it stays in hand. Yeah, it does.
What was it? Was it Pavlov? Your Pavlov, and Soul Mirror's the bells, I guess.
Yes.
Wow. What a game. And honestly, Warma taking the win there with the focus on that board control. And for me, it's I don't want to spend all weekend just dunking on this rogue list, but especially against Priest, because Priest does have those answers, like you said, right? Oh, well, yeah, it's weak to Plague, but there are so many other tools. A Wave of Apathy just to delay or steal, a Shadow Word Death. They can generate potential silence effects and so on. It's like there's so many ways for them to deal with these 3 threats. It feels like you play in that rogue deck, that matchup must feel pretty rough to go into.
Yeah, and I think particularly when you come up against a list that plays like Pyromancers as well on top of that.
Right.
Because, your plan B is quite often just make little annoying minions early. And a lot of Priest lists don't really have efficient cards for dealing with like annoying boards. But I think because we're now seeing more Face Hunter, more Zoo, arguably, and more of this rogue deck as well, and more Stealth Rogue as well in particular, more and more Priests are playing Pyromancer or Breath of the Infinite or whatever other method that you have of dealing with small boards like that, which then not only do they have your plan A checked with Shadow of Death or Soul Mirror or Plague or Galacrond or whatever it is that ends up killing your big minions, they also have your plan B checked by being able to deal with your anti-aggro push. So then at that point, all you have left is like maybe kind of a value grind if all of that fails, which is possible but is enormously difficult and maybe nigh on impossible without Dragon's Horde in your deck, because quite often you need that to be a huge value engine for you as well. So I don't know, the deck just seems like a big old trip on the struggle bus to me. Like I don't understand it.
Well, there's going to be another deck we don't truly understand, as Warma just has his mage left, which does mean things are going to get at least spicy for us in the European region. We've not really got to sit down with Turtle Mage as much as some of the other regions, of course. But Warma's got it as his last list now, and he has got either the Rogue or the Warlock to go up against. So just going to triple check. I do believe, again, Felkeine's just going to lock in that Rogue. Which means he's just going to go once more. He has to win with both anyway, so it doesn't really matter in the long term. But I'm just interested to see how Warma plays this, because I know you yourself, Saul, you have, I was going to say a chip on your shoulder, which is just the wrong phrase, but you get quite lively about the way the mage should be played. But we'll get into that in just a little bit as we get into that game very shortly. We are just going to go to a very quick break, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to an exclusive interview with former world champion of Hearthstone, James Firebat Kostasich. Hi, James.
Hi, happy to be here for the interview.
Hi, welcome to the
Thank you.
So how do you deal with your old age?
Yeah, for esports, I guess I'm getting kind of up there at this point, but I don't travel as much as some of the young guys. I try and stay home and stream more and focus on growth there.
I have trouble accepting my own mortality. Ever think about having pups?
Pups? Like dogs?
Pups.
Yeah, I had a dog before. It's hard with esports and the traveling. I'm kind of more on the cats for now rather than dogs, but I do love pets.
Where did you move this winter?
I just stayed in Michigan.
You didn't move?
No.
Well, how do you deal with the colder months?
Yeah, it kind of sucks. You go inside, turn the heat on, right? But you know, snow is always a bummer. It actually wasn't too bad this year. There wasn't too much shoveling you had to do.
Well, this winter I didn't really feel like moving, so I slept for like 3 months.
That sounds nice.
We're here in Texas. Did you fly to Texas?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I'm only in Detroit, so it was only like a 2.5-hour flight. It was pretty good.
I can only fly at night because it seems like there's a better selection of food.
Yeah, I don't think there was food on my flight.
You want some fruit? Okay, this fruit went bad, by the way.
없어요. 오늘의 운세라는 그런 항목을 한 번씩 찾아봅니다. 그래서 예전에 우승했을 때 그 운세가 굉장히 좋게 나왔어서 그 뒤로는 계속 대회 때마다 보는 습관이 생긴 것 같아요.
자고 일어난 다음에 한참 뒤에 게임하면은 약간 지는? 근데 뭐 그런 게 있는 것 같아요. 그래서 그랜드마스터 전에 한 1시간 전에 일어나가지고 준비해요.
I don't have any superstition because when first time I come to BlizzCon in 2014 and I come to the temple for victory, but I lose layer. So after that, I didn't come to any temple anymore. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Hearthstone Grandmasters European region. We are moving quite swiftly on, honestly, through our day. It's only a short day over here, but then we do have Americas coming up later, so we are by no means done overall. But we're in this series now with just Warma only needing one win to take the overall victory over Felkeine, and for that Sottle, he has his Turtle Mage left, and it is... like as we were about to get into, but I will get into that in a second, it is a deck that's very exciting to watch, but there are more than just one play style with this deck. It's not only about that, Sunreaver War Mage plus Turtles, right?
Agreed, yeah, and I think that's a big reason of why the deck is real now as opposed to like semi-meme as it was before, is people have refined the deck to the point where you can actually just win a lot of matchups on straight-up tempo. Either just by having high-quality minions and, dropping an early potion on some incredibly high-quality minions and just having straight-up winning on tempo, or you win board, you don't even draw your Sunreaver War Mage, and you just lock out the game with 1 mana Frost Nova every turn for the rest of the game. That's an insanely good card. You don't need to be dealing damage to your opponent for 1 mana Frost Nova to win the game. What you also don't need, but comes in very, very handy, is that Sphere of Sapience in the early game, Raven, because that now removes the cursed double potion failure rate from the deck, as Warma does have one in hand already, and now if he does see the other one offered, he can just shove it right onto the bottom of his deck immediately.
Yeah, and no weapon removal here for Felkeine, but just a quick breakdown, as I think it's the first time we've seen this weapon be played in European Grandmasters, is the big deal here is every time you decide, you see the top card of your deck that's going to be drawn, and you can decide whether to draw it or put it to the bottom of your deck. The only time it uses durability is if you put it to the bottom, which is key. So it means doesn't last 4 turns, it lasts forever if you keep drawing the top card, which means, as you quite rightly pointed out, Sol, is that you can... unless the weapon gets destroyed by your opponent, you can guarantee that you'll have the charges to just put the potion at the bottom and make sure it works.
Alright, we'll get all the surface level stuff out of the way, because this is going to be immediately a very complicated matchup for the first iteration of Turtle Mage. So for anyone not familiar with the actual standard win condition of the deck, you play 3 spells total. Potion of Illusion, Frost Nova, Blizzard. You then play 2 Tortollan Pilgrims, which casts a copy of one of those spells. Doesn't consume the spell, it casts a copy of it. So essentially, between Tortollan Pilgrim, Potion of Illusion to create more 1-mana Tortollan Pilgrims, and flood your hand with them, you are then able to infinitely duplicate turtles, freeze the board every turn, and then you can throw in whatever other battle cry you want on top of that. Healing, damage, value, whatever it is, it doesn't really matter too much. However, Felkeine has one of the very, very few cards that people say, oh, this just beats that strategy. There's nothing you can do against it. That actually is true, and that's Flick Skyshift, because as soon as any Tortollan appears, Felkeine has the ability to then flick it away. Which means that win condition for Warma is kind of completely out of the window. So you have to ask the question of whether Warma just plays the matchup by saying, my opponent doesn't draw Flick, and I will play normally, or whether he just tries to do something completely different from the outset to try and play around Flick and set himself up with a different win condition.
I'm not going to lie, I'm sat here wondering if he can play Tortollans and kill them off himself somehow, but don't think that quite works out in the way you want it to, so yeah, definitely a tricky one, and Warma, of course, will be fully aware of the potential of Flick.
Yeah, you end every turn with 0 on the board, but lots in your hand. That doesn't seem that possible. No, not to do consistently turn after turn.
Might be able to get a couple of turns out of it, though, right?
I mean, with very specific Wand Thief discoveries, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Here, though, for now, Felkeine just going to go with this questing, relatively early in the game, but it's going to be a little bit difficult.
Equestrian Adventurer is a very different card, right? Giddy up, boy! We're going to town.
Again, Warma didn't see the potion, so he's going to make a hard pass on that one and just draw the card instead. This is some limiting factors here, though, with having 2 Firebrands and only 1 spell in your hand.
Yep.
On the other side of that, then, Sol, with you talk about how Warma can defend against this kind of issue of flick. Is Felkeine just going to sit back and wait until he gets the flick and then plans to win off the back of that?
Yeah.
Or do you think he's going to try and play an honest game straight away? Because even looking at this board, this question has kind of been thrown away, right?
Exactly.
Because it just always dies.
It's exactly what I was just thinking, Raven, is that Felkeine seems to be signaling that he doesn't really feel like he needs to win the game. He just needs to not lose the game, right? Which is like fairly accurate, I would say, when he's already drawn flick.
And on that note, I mean, even then, I was looking at potential flick shadow step, but if Felkeine isn't that bothered about winning the game, then he doesn't even need to commit that, right? Like, why not? Just hold off and just get this plagiarize active if he really wants to.
Yeah, especially since you can just backstab as well. And I don't know how vital it is in the grand scheme of things, but like revealing the information that flick is there, so win condition A doesn't work, like that is pretty crucial information to give to the opponent, right? Because Warma might just get in a position where he just says, okay, he doesn't have flick, game plan A, activate, and then boom, you just flick him and win the game. Whereas as soon as you show them the flick, Warma can at least then have the knowledge that he needs to do something different in order to win.
Yeah, Felkeine still giving Warma some issues though, because right now, although the sphere is quite powerful, right now Warma's just nothing, right? The defensive tools aren't there. One thief could make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And it did.
Nutty. You think you can see from Felkeine's reaction, though. He's like, I mean, yes, of course he finds the polymorph, but it does. He's not too bothered about it in this scenario, right? Like he's still on cruise control right now.
Yeah, exactly. And now another question means Felkeine could just say, "Okay, I gave you one question. You dealt with the cleave. Here's my third win condition."
Mm-hmm.
And why not? That's if that is the thought pattern that flick makes such a safety net for him. Like, why not just go again? I like it.
Plagiarize just for the ultimate BM. You're expecting your opponent to play their turtle here, and then you get a turtle, so you can just flick a turtle out of your own hand as well. You love to see it.
Yeah, my opponent can't ping his own turtle if I have one too.
That's how you play around it, right? You just have one yourself, so you can just play it and flick it yourself for 14 mana. Yeah.
Yep.
You don't pick the ones.
You fight
Okay.
me.
Sure.
Burned. Turn it up.
But you can see, right, like, Warma's not far off from just, like, winning the board right now. You can see how it's possible, right?
Oh, yeah. And honestly, the worry is flick enough, right? Like, is that enough? Because this question is going to die soon, generally. And maybe not now, because there's so many tools to buff it back up.
Yeah.
But if this question goes down, yet again, we're going to see that, there aren't that many threats in the deck, because 2 questions and a Van Cleave have all died if this question gets killed.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
there's some
How come a
freaking
question if it's not
value
on the
for
board?
you. Yeah, the timing's really weird, right? Because part of you would like to Daring Escape here, because a lot of your board is just dead to the Imprisoned Observer anyway. But at the same time, like, you do not want to Daring Escape your questing under almost any circumstance.
Maybe Daring Escape just plays around the Observer, right? Daring Escape, let it go off and be like, haha, missed.
Right.
Just replay everything after. This probably looks a little bit better, though, just to have a 7/7 on the board.
Agreed.
There's a Nova, which you pick. No, you picked it to be shuffled. That's one that
Shuffled,
generally
yeah.
you do want the spells shuffled.
Yeah, so he now has a Nova on the bottom of his deck, so he doesn't really have to worry about drawing out freezes from his deck. Like, that's just kind of done. It's secure. He never has to worry about that now. His Tortollans will always be able to cast freezes.
What makes something real?
And
I
other
expected you to
noises
hold
as
that for
well.
longer.
I know, yeah.
I wanted that to be a good minute long, so honestly, to really get the emphasis going. But you are right. If you removed from your mind the turtle and flick interaction and just looked at this board and was like, oh, 2 players playing Hearthstone, you'd be like, wow, the mage is putting on a ton of pressure right now. This is a bit scary.
Yeah, he's actually swinging the board. Slowly but surely.
There is a lot of good tools in Felkeine's hand, though. He has that Cold Ball that can help, the Ray of Frost himself, his own Jandis now. So there are some really powerful tools available to him. And without this Twilight Runner, honestly, this game probably would end very quickly. Is it just a Jandis response here?
You fight me, you get burned.
Oh, this is nice. You can find out which one's the fake.
Yes, usually. Okay,
And you see there.
Good job, Warma did not get greedy. Like, oh, this one has stealth. I'll just put the shadow on that. Easy.
And that's it, right? Because there is a reason to do that. Oh.
Well.
And here we go.
So, like, that clear from Felkeine was actually very, very important because Warma here had the opportunity to, like, play around Flick to an extent just by potioning all of that stuff multiple times and just having, like, a 10-card good hand, right? With, like, multiple Jandises and multiple whatever high-quality minions. But because he didn't get to do that, this is his one turtle turn, and now it's kind of done. He has to win the game with this, which is not really going to work out.
Limited card draw, though, with these
He
Twilight.
does, yeah.
Right, now how do we kill the 5/5 and 2 1/1s?
Oh, he draws the other Tortollan as well. That's just not a card. Insane. Wow, Felkeine's going to make him wait.
Yeah, I was going to say, how is that flick not on the board yet?
I mean, he's considering questing and whatever else, right? Like, there is some stuff to think about this turn for sure.
I imagine he's going to be looking at some kind of rush play with the Goblin Lackey as well, just to kill off that Twilight Runner.
Mm-hmm.
Very clean fashion. Is there much emphasis for Felkeine to try and defend this flick for a future shadow step, or is it just done more than enough by getting the turtle?
Nah, I don't think so. You just get it done. This is so cruel!
Roping,
Just,
wow.
He's already dead! Just put the poor man out of his misery. Honestly. But yeah, I go back to the point before, like, there are worlds where this is beatable, where your initial turtle turn actually hits some good stuff, right? Like, if he'd have hit Jandis here and he had 3 Jandis in his hands instead of Twilight Runners, then, you know, maybe that was relevant. But yeah, there's just no way from here. He just doesn't have enough value left, I imagine.
He still has double Blizzard, I believe, still left over. But there's not much after that is the problem, right?
Right.
Oh, okay. So he's playing to survive and get Solarian, right? That's
Sure.
the actual plan, and I'm being serious. Like,
Yeah, fair enough.
mainly because kind of the way we've spoken about this matchup with the flick, it sounds like Warma should concede, but there are worlds in which he can win, so I do think it's important for him to keep going.
Fine. Headcrack does indeed always get there.
I'm never going to be upset with someone picking Headcrack.
No.
Warma can get hold of a lot of cards this turn.
Yes.
Does he shuffle that ooze to the bottom? Yeah, like that.
Okay, second potion actually a good draw at this point, because it actually allows him to make one more powerful play with some minions of his choosing. If he's able to get to that point.
Observer, one thief potion. Looks like... Now he can't do that, so maybe he just wants this instead, huh?
I don't know, he might be looking specifically for Astromancer Solarian potion at some point.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Now there's Font of Power. Doesn't he want to do that first? Because what if he gets like a great minion to potion from Wand? I don't know what that would be, but...
That costs one.
This is tough.
I mean, Apprentice would be the best thing that would be playable and potionable this turn. I'm not sure how powerful exactly that would be.
Warma just going for the I'm going to draw my deck.
Just infinite Twilight Runners. Has anyone ever seen a Turtle Mage game where you actually draw the cards you put on the bottom of your deck? Is this a world first? Is this a world first? Can
Maybe.
anyone confirm this?
This is a bit of a weird problem. If Warma can... I think Warma wants to get hold of this this second Nova, right? Nova the board again, and then just try and lethal with these 1/1s.
Yeah, he already has a Cone of Cold available. Which can at least potentially keep him alive by locking out the questing. If worst comes to worst.
Felkeine did get hold of the secrets, though, with the passage. That's a big deal.
Yep.
And the explosive trap is after the true nemesis of Turtle Mage. How does he kill me if I just play explosive trap every turn?
Choose soon.
Yeah, no Flame Ward, no Explosive Trap. No answer from the One Thief.
And although it's not going to get duplicated infinitely, of course, the Sunreaver War Mage does deal damage from hand. It is an element of burst damage, and Felkeine is only on 16. Like, he's not by any means safe.
I mean, not right now it doesn't, because there's no spell to activate currently. But yes, at some point...
he's drawing 100 cards though, so don't worry.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's keeping the card. This is his last charge on his weapon, right? So if he goes for a new fate, then that's going to be the weapon gone. Yep, there you go. He's gone for it. Polkelt. So
Polkelt to reorder those 8 cards. Whoa.
You can chuck the blizzards to the top, which is important, right?
He just drew it there naturally anyway.
Oh, okay, okay.
Interesting. So now you definitely don't draw the Polkelt. Sorry, don't play the Polkelt because you want Astromancer at the top, ideally, I would say.
Sure, yes. Because there's now there's a blizzard and one blizzard, one card at the top, right? If he played Polkelt.
Time runs out on me.
There's no way this game is still winnable, right, Raven? There's no way.
I mean,
there's no way.
Warma gets to play with 30 cards this game. Is that Astromancer?
That's Astromancer. Doomsayer for the reset.
And with the board... wait, was the Never Surrender a bad idea? Because the whole point of Blizzard was it would kill all the 1/1s so he can play stuff.
My hand is
Because the Blizzard acted like a Frost Nova this turn.
Oh, burned an Abyss as well.
The Abyss would have done it, wouldn't it? Blizzard Abyss swing weapon.
I mean, he can still deal with it. He still has like Shadow Step, Secret, Blackjack Stunner, or whatever. Like he has ways to answer it. If this Doomsayer were to go off, I think Warma might actually be favored from this position, though. But it won't, so I'm still not quite so sure he is.
And now, in a weird way, I was going to look at like Shadow Step the Flick, potentially. But then he actually
oh my god,
probably
the Flick's
wants...
actually just still alive. That's insane.
Yeah, but he probably wants the Twilight Runners to attack now because Warma's going to go into like heavy fatigue mode. I don't know anymore, Sol. I'm lost.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think it's gone beyond the point now of Flick killing the runners being good.
Choose Sue.
And by the way, we are going to get the world first here because those 4 cards left remaining are the 4 cards that Warma deliberately put on the bottom of his deck. So he is going to be the first Turtle Mage player in history to draw those cards.
Oh, maybe not. Not if Solarian gets shuffled in and then he...
Well, he draws 1 card before the start of the turn anyway, right?
Yeah, he won't draw all 4 though.
Okay, alright, fair enough.
Careful with your words, Sol.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
He just let it go.
Okay. He did get the Flick back though, but what does that change now?
Mm-hmm.
You don't pick the ones.
These are all excellent questions, right?
And you're the analyst, so give me the answers.
Rise into my trap.
I will crush your delusions of grandeur.
What makes something real?
Like, okay, next question. Was there ever a reason for him to try and actually Sunreaver his own
My hand
Solarian?
is too full.
I'm not sure. I was just thinking about that. Like, is there a way it gets dealt with? And I guess like Blackjack Stunner is the way it gets dealt with, so it doesn't go into your deck. But I feel like as long as you can keep playing it, like it's not like you're all in on the Astromancer. Like you just have board now.
This Gendis was pretty sick, to be fair, because this 3/7 is a nightmare to deal with.
Yeah.
He has to put the 2/3 in, which then just leaves up Elise.
Yeah.
This Blizzard might be insanely clutch right now.
Yeah, but in that case, do you also stunner the Astromancer? I imagine you probably have to,
I
right?
think so.
I'm going to be honest, I'm very confused about why Felkeine just gave him board that turn.
I don't know. Can he get this runner down? I guess it doesn't matter because he knows that it's likely Warma has a Blizzard or a Nova.
So he's going to head crack and he's going to Blizzard. This Blizzard doesn't
He gets a
spawn
2/2,
because he
right?
fills the board first.
Oh, okay. Just go afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, nice sequencing. I like it. Fill the board first, then drop the Blizzard. Get the head crack in as well, so you're actually still pushing for lethal. But the board's coming back.
And he wants Pole Count now, right?
Yes.
He forces the Prime to the top of the deck.
Correct.
That's the secret with the Carter. Not really a huge deal. Carter dies that easily because Felkeine doesn't have board to begin with. And I guess he might have just assumed it was never surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no world in which he doesn't want Prime. Maybe he wants to front load the Observer instead to get it down earlier, so it goes off quicker. Did not expect that turn. Felkeine has limited resources now. This head crack almost certainly needs to be cast once again this turn. Oh, Wormweaver. That's a lot of power.
It is. It is indeed.
An Arcane Amplifier does not work the way rogues want it to.
Right.
Job done. The end is coming!
I'm almost out of cards.
Well,
Ooh, there it is
buckle
anyway.
in.
There it is anyway. This
That's the
is
secret
misdirection that is in play currently. Anywhere except his own face is fine. That's ideal.
That's probably best, right? Because it makes the Doomsayer most likely to die. And here we go.
No face damage. It's huge. He gets to keep his board now, at least. We know that. Ah! Oh! Oh!
Insane.
Oh no!
Insane.
Oh no!
It's just lethal next turn.
He has Blizzard in hand. He has Sunreaver in hand. Sunreaver Ping is actually going to win Turtle Mage this game.
And the best part is, the best part for Warma is, just because he has the spell in hand, it means he doesn't have to cast it. So it's not like this neophyte's going to change anything right now. There's no disruption needed.
Oh no, Raven. Is Turtle Mage just the best deck in Standard? Is that where we're at? Is this it? You can't beat it. Nothing wins.
From this one game sample size, Sol, yes, it is.
Nothing wins. It's immortal.
But again, I think it is important. I think there's a lot of things to think about in this game, but Felkeine kind of sacrificed his first Quest Adventurer to just be traded away on board with 1 minion.
Yeah.
He gave up the Doomsayer turn to sacrifice his second Quest Adventurer and kept the Flick. Maybe he had to, I don't want to say take the game more seriously, but maybe he had to give more respect to the deck, to the Turtle Mage. Then maybe he did. Maybe he was overconfident with Flick. Maybe. It's just like, go again. Hopefully it'll hit you in the face and bug out this. That's just going to be the game. That's just going to be the series. Warma's going to take the victory over Felkeine with that Turtle Mage. And what a game of Hearthstone. Whichever way you look at it, from what we've seen in Grandmasters, you cannot say Turtle Mage is boring.
It's, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to go through the same, like, levels of abusive relationship as we have with Priest Mirrors, where, like, you know, the first one, every now and again, it's like, oh, sick, like, this is a refreshing change. You don't really see Priest Mirrors. Oh, well, this is really fun. Lots of wacky stuff happened. And then the 12th one in, you're like, oh, Priest Mirrors.
Not like this.
But yeah, I mean, what else can you say? We're checking them all off, right? Like, all the reasons why this can't be a real deck. In Grandmasters, we're checking them off one by one, right? Like, oh, you can't win if you don't draw Tortol and Pilgrim. Well, we're just seeing games won on tempo by just good cards. You can't win if you draw Double Potion. Eddie literally wins a week after drawing Double Potion. You can't beat Flick. Literally just beat Flick. Like, it just happened. And again, I think you are right to raise points of debate. So, like, the conceding board issue there is complicated, because if he blackjack stunners once there, he knows his opponent still has freezes remaining, and you've just put the Doomsayer back in their hand. So, like, it delays the problem, but it doesn't necessarily solve it. So maybe the argument is, I have to concede this board at some point, so I'll just do it now anyway. But it like I said it at the time, well, it seemed odd in that scenario.
Well, my question as well, though, again, you know, and I don't know, we'd have to go over it 100 times, but the Shadow Step was on the Flick. He could have Shadow Step.
You could have just replayed the Flick, You could have just replayed the Flick and dealt with the Doomsayer.
Or replayed the Flick, There was other options. Or if you want to just let it go off, Shadow Step the quest in and have, at least in my opinion, the more actual game-winning tool after you've already flicked a Tortollan at that point. Tons of stuff to go over and a pretty cool game overall. But Zim versus Ball Control is going to be our fourth and final match of the day. We have a light day on a Friday, but we're going to